Proper regular cleaning of your bike will make it last years longer, save you money and give you the best ride possible. This has got to be the best bike clean ever for our modern high-tech bikes we have today. It's cheap, simple, least messy, environmentally friendly and only takes 12 to 15 minutes to finish. So here we are in the shed, here's the bike we're going to clean. And to show you how efficient the clean is, rather than wear dark clothes which will hide the grease and dirt, we're going to wear this brand new t-shirt, and it will be spotless at the end of this clean. Even our hands are going to be clean. And these are the cleaning tools you'll need. Clean, dry, soft rags, absorbent like cotton. Old t-shirts and bed sheets are good. Not necessary but very handy is a long soft bristled brush. But you will need the following: narrow stiff bristled brush like that, 3 very soft paintbrushes, different widths, a ordinary old toothbrush, laundry liquid mixed with water in a spray bottle and plain water in a spray bottle, degreaser, silicone spray and your lubricant for your chain, a flathead jeweler's screwdriver, or you can buy these on eBay very cheap, a dental pick, a drip tray of some kind, and a cheap pair of kitchen gloves. So no need for expensive cleaning products. The bike's done an 85k ride, but I've soiled it even more than usual, added extra oil and gunk on the chain and the chain rings and on the back cassette. And you can see around the brake area extra gunk on the frame and brakes. Remove your front wheel and put your kitchen gloves on. Find the removable link in your chain and take the chain off. If you don't have a removable link on your chain, that's okay, but I definitely recommend that you use one. Assess your chain with your fingers like this. If it feels rough and dry, it's time to degrease and relube it. If it feels relatively smooth, just give it a relube. If you run your chain as dirty as this, the grit will get in between the pin and the roller of every link, and every link that wears, the chain gets ever so slightly longer overall. This is called chain stretch, and a stretched chain will wear on your front chain rings and your rear cassette sprockets, greatly reducing their usable lifespan very quickly, and this will cost you big dollars to replace. So every so often, measure your chain stretch with a chain stretch tool. With this tool, the blue means the chain's okay, and the red area means it's time to replace your chain. The best thing to do is run 2 chains and swap them over approximately every 500 kilometers. This will greatly increase the lifespan of your chain rings and your cassette, not to mention your chains. If you haven't already got one, make yourself a dummy bike. It's basically a bicycle without wheels, gears and brakes. It's very handy and serves a number of functions. In this instance, we're going to use it to clean a chain. So put the chain on and put the link on, and we're ready to degrease and relube the chain without getting our good bike messy. So get your degreaser and spray it on liberally on both sides of the chain. It's a good idea to degrease if you've been riding in wet conditions, particularly in winter months. Spray off the degreaser with a decent amount of water pressure, and remember both sides of the chain again. Now with a clean dry rag, dry the outside of the chain as best you can. And you don't have to wait for the chain to be completely dry before putting your lubricant on. By applying it liberally, it will disperse the water and push it out of the links. Don't use a lubricant that attracts dirt and dust. Some lubricants are based on fish oil, which is great for lubrication, but they hold dirt so well. Remember, chains wear and stretch, which is caused by dirt and grit. One recommendation would be to use a wax-based lubricant. Now with a clean dry rag, wipe the chain as clean as you can. Having lubricant on the outside of a chain serves no purpose whatsoever. I don't recommend using devices like this to clean a chain. It only floods a chain in its own grit and grime in a solution. A chain needs fresh, clean liquid moving through and out of the links to take the grime away. If you don't have a removable link on your chain, you can use a dummy axle like this. That way you can clean the chain on the bike. And if you don't have a dummy axle, you can always make one. Just go down to your local bike shop and get a rear dropout spacer, which they usually throw away in the bin, a piece of poly over the top, and there you go, it fits in just like a normal dummy axle. Put a drip tray underneath to catch the waste, then degrease, wash, wax and wipe as previously demonstrated. And remember, keep wiping that chain with the cloth until it's nice and clean and shiny. Now with a clean dry rag, clean both jockey wheels. One hand holds the rag and the other spins the jockey wheel. Remove your gloves and we're ready for step 2. Place the drip tray underneath your crankset and spray degreaser on your chainrings. Spray away from your bottom bracket area. We don't want any degreaser getting in near your cups or bottom bracket bearings. Now spray the inside of your chainrings. Notice I'm spraying the bottom area of the rings, keeping degreaser spray away from the bottom bracket. And give the front derailleur a little bit of a spray if it needs it. And a very light spray on the rear derailleur, only if it needs it. Now use the thin, stiff bristled brush, first on the small chain ring, hold it on, and just spin the cranks, and do the same for the large chain ring. You'll be amazed at how this little brush makes cleaning your chain sets so easy. And now the thin, soft bristled brush and a spray bottle of plain water. Agitate the front and the rear derailleur degreaser and spray them nice and clean. Now wash off the degreaser from the chainrings with our spray bottle of water. Once again spraying the front lower part of the chainrings, sort of 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, taking the waste away from the bottom bracket area, allowing gravity to take it down to the drip tray. And the inside of the chainrings. Same area, 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And the chainrings look brand new again. Cleaning the crankset this way takes less than 1 minute. A pristine clean crankset and all the grimes in the drip tray. And now for the brakes. With our spray bottle of laundry liquid and water, spray the brake area, the whole caliper, the front part of the fork and of course at the back part of the fork. And agitate with the soft bristled brush, keep squirting on that liquid and it washes away the grime. Under the brake arch, in between the caliper arms and at the back of the forks. And now spray off the whole area with plain water. And your rear brake area, do exactly the same thing. Next, using the toothbrush and the spray laundry liquid, spray and scrub each individual brake pad, first horizontally and then vertically like this. This is particularly important if you're using carbon rims, not only washing away dirt but also oils that have found their way to the pad. And spray them off well with the fresh water. Then exactly the same procedure with the rear brake pads. Give the brake pads a rub with a clean dry rag, and hopefully the rag is nice and clean like this. And do the same for all 4 brake pads. If the rag is showing that there's still dirt on the pads, use methylated spirits or rubbing alcohol. This will break down and remove any oils that are on the surface of the brake pad. If the rag or the brake pad still seems to look dirty, use a file to remove that layer on the brake pad. Don't use sandpaper or emery paper, which may leave small particles of hardened compound in your brake pad. Once the brake pads are clean and dry, take a very close look and see if there's any grit stuck in the pad. Particularly if you have wear indicators on your pads like this, they often get clogged up with road grit. So use a small flathead screwdriver or a dental pick to get any foreign matter out of those crevices. And here's an example of a brake pad that's picked up some foreign matter. If you leave it in the brake pad, it will score your rim and greatly reduce the rim's life. So use the dental pick to remove any grit that's made its way into the brake pad. And if you can't get your brake pads completely clean, it's time to put some new pads in. If you have disc brakes, use methylated spirits on a clean rag and keep wiping it on the rotor until there's no more dirt to show. Using your soft wide paintbrush with the laundry liquid in water, begin spraying the frame. If your frame is particularly dirty, allow a couple of minutes to soak in the liquid before beginning brushing. Always work from the top downwards. For instance, here I started on the top of the head tube and work my way down the forks. Regularly give the brush a flick to remove any dirt, otherwise you're wiping dirt on the frame with the brush. Don't rub your frame with a rag or a sponge, rubbing the dirt over the paintwork. It will scratch it every time you wipe, and eventually you'll dull and score the paintwork. If you use drinks that are sugary or have electrolytes, these can leave sticky residues along this area, the down tubes to the bottom bracket area. Clean under your seat. Quite often you'll find dirt flicks up from your back wheel into this area. Cleaning around your bottom bracket area is so much easier with a paintbrush like this. Give your crank arms a bit of a clean as well. And that's it for the washing. Word of caution, don't use high pressure spraying like this. It'll get water into areas you don't want it to, like your bearings and your bottom bracket, your headset and your hubs and pedals. The seals are very good on bearings today, but if water does get in, it's very difficult for it to evaporate through the seal. Time to rinse off the frame now. Make sure you've cleaned the brush already, and with our plain water in a spray bottle, rinse off all the areas of the frame we sprayed the laundry liquid onto. Cleaning your frame in this way also allows you to get familiar with any chips or scratches that may develop. If water gets through to the lamination of the carbon fibre, it will weaken its structural integrity. So seal up any flaws with the appropriate resin or even nail polish. Every so often, you might want to give your handlebar tape, lever hoods and your seat a wash too. So peel back the lever hoods and spray your handlebar tape with the laundry liquid and water and massage it in with your hand. Then rinse it off with liberal amounts of plain water. Fold your lever hoods back and do the same thing with them. Wash with laundry liquid and water and rinse off with plain water. Do your seat in the same way. If it's a leather seat, you may want to use a leather cleaning product. Now with silicone spray, we're going to spray your brakes and your front and rear derailleurs. You'll need to get the spray in the pivot points of your derailleurs. If you're not sure where the pivot points are, just move your derailleurs by hand and you'll see them move. So go ahead and do that, and putting a light spray on the whole derailleur itself is a good idea too. Make sure you get some spray inside the recessed bolt heads, like in there, on the main derailleur spring, and the barrel adjuster. Silicone spray is great to use. It doesn't leave an oily residue to attract dirt. Cover up your brake pads with a rag so that no silicone gets on them, and give them a spray the same as you did with your derailleurs. The brake spring, the barrel adjuster, bolt heads and the pivot points. Remove the rag and give the caliper a few bites, make sure the lubricant gets in. Do the same with the rear caliper and that's the brakes done. Clipless pedals will also have pivot joints, so give them a spray where appropriate, but don't lubricate the strike plates if your pedals have them. When drying your bike, it may be tempting to use high pressure air, but be aware this can force moisture into unwanted places. Much better to just put your bike in a well ventilated area to dry. Clean the cassette cog set, and here's our extra dirty cog set to clean. Lean your wheel at an angle so that the waste falls away from your hub. You can use the soft, extra long bristled brush. Spray that with degreaser and spray the cogs with degreaser. Then scrub the whole cog set with the brush. Or you can do the same thing with the thin, stiff bristled brush. Make sure you get to scrub each individual cog. And behind the first cog gets quite dirty as well. Then rinse off with clean water. Make sure you keep your wheel at that angle again. If dirt builds up between the cogs, use this simple curve-shaped tool to get between and pull out the debris. If you clean your bike regularly, the cog set won't be that dirty, so you can use this method to clean the cogs. Fold a clean rag and spray degreaser on the fold, and put that fold in between each individual cogs. When the rag gets too dirty, fold it a cleaner part of the rag, respray degreaser on it, and continue on. Then don't forget to clean the front part of the smallest cog and the back of the largest cog. And now to your rims. If your rims are particularly dirty, use the laundry liquid spray and the soft brush to agitate it. Use a light spray of water to rinse it off, and then turn your wheel over and do the other side. You can also clean your wheels either on the dolly or on the bike itself. My favourite is just using a truing stand. Starting at the centre of the wheel and working outwards, this hub's not very dirty, so we'll just give it a quick rub with the rag and move on. And turning the wheel around and doing the other side too. Giving the spokes a bit of a clean with the dry brush and then the rag. And now moving on to the rim. So, laundry liquid in water again, spray it all the way around the rim. Then using the wide soft brush, wipe all the way around the rim. It's important to keep your rims clean. Dirt, grit and oil on the rims will not only reduce braking performance, but will also accelerate the wear of the braking surface. Now rinse off the residues with the plain water. Then turn the wheel around and do the same with the other side. While the tyre is wet from washing the rim, it's a good time to give the tyre a bit of a clean too. So, use a clean rag and wipe over the tyre like this. Now that your tyre is quite clean and dry, it's a good time to inspect it for little cuts from glass or wire or thorns. And it's a good time to check out the tyre wear as well, remembering that your rear tyre wears out quicker than your front. If for some reason you're in doubt about a tyre's safety, definitely replace it. Lastly, using a clean dry rag, wipe the braking surface, then check the rag. If the only thing on the rag is water, then your rim surface is completely clean. However, if the rag is still lifting dirt or oil off of the rim, then use methylated spirits or rubbing alcohol to clean the rim. Keep on cleaning the rim until nothing comes off on the rag. Now that your rim is completely clean, take a close look for any imperfections, scratches, delamination, or even small splits that are beginning. And don't just go by sight, feel the rim with your fingers. Especially with the rim's braking surface, you can often feel an imperfection before you see it. That's the front wheel finished. Now do exactly the same for the rear wheel. Putting your bike together now, make sure your dropouts are dry. Put both of your wheels on. Put your kitchen gloves back on. Take the chain off the dolly and put it on your bike. Make sure you get the link around the right way. A simple way to remember is put the link on the back of the chain that goes to the back of the bike and the front of the chain that goes to the front of the bike. Just a drop or two of lube on the link and then work it in. If you've got raw metal cables going through a cable guide under your bottom bracket, give them a spray of silicone as well. Go through all your gears, make sure they're all falling in the right places. And if your wheels are central, between your frame and the forks, the brake pads should hit evenly on the rims as well. If your brakes ever squeak, check the alignment of your brake pads to the rim. For example, on this front caliper here, the front section of the brake pad should hit the rim just a millimetre or two before the rear section of the brake pad. Don't forget to give all your brushes a rinse before you put them away. And when your frame is nice and dry, you can put some polish on if you want. I recommend using a microfiber cloth. Avoid using paper towels or tissues on your paintwork. These are made with wood fibres, and over time they will dull the clear coat or the paint of your frame. That's it, clean bike all ready to ride. And clean t-shirt and clean hands. Keep practicing this bike clean and you can get it done in 12 to 15 minutes.